Hello, first year seminar students. So this is a video presentation meant to accompany a PowerPoint that I put together on basic desktop publishing skills that will help you to be a better college student in all of your courses. Your instructors have access to the PowerPoint and can share it with you if you'd like, but for this presentation, I'm going to focus specifically on what's available in the Microsoft suite, Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel. Again, focusing on basic needs for college coursework. If you want to really gain expertise in these programs, I'd suggest enrolling in one of our CETA 110 courses here at SUNY Delhi, where you will learn to do magic with those programs. So as I go over this PowerPoint, I've got to figure out, it's not a very video-friendly PowerPoint. I have to figure out where to put my face each time. But I'm going to go fairly quickly and recognize that in this video, you can, of course, pause to look at the information that I have on the screen. I'm not really going to read it all, but I hope that that will be complementary to what I'm saying to you. So the first thing that I really want to make clear to you is that you have access to the Microsoft Suite as a SUNY Delhi student. If you are on campus, our computers have it installed. If you are not, you can download the programs by clicking on the little grid icon right here. Uh, it's on the top left-hand side of your email program. So our college has paid a lot of money for you to have access to this. You should use it. The Microsoft Office suite is far superior to cloud-based desktop publishing software as it's got more sophisticated editing functions within it. You absolutely should download and use it if you have access to a computer. If you do not have access to a computer, then you can use the cloud-based version of Microsoft Word on whatever computer you can get to, such as at your local public library, or if you're on campus at any one of our computer labs. Let's, where do I put my face here? Yeesh. How about right there? All right. So I require my students to send me email attachments of their assignments each week. That's something I'm doing since we're doing online education, and I do it even when we're in the classroom. So many people struggle with this. Each week, I receive pictures of handwritten work, which is fine for the kind of work that I'm doing, but it's not particularly professional. We're in a pandemic right now, and not everyone has access to a computer, so I understand. But when it comes time for papers, these students will need to figure out how to properly format a paper, then send it to me as an email attachment or upload it to the Turnitin program on Vanco Hall. So when you save something in Word, you have the option to save it to a cloud if using the cloud-based version of the software, but you always have the ability to save it as a as a digital file on like your own flash drive as well. So as long as you properly give your professor access to the document, cloud saving something on the cloud works, but it requires a lot of extra clicking for the professor. So I really suggest that everyone learn to download actual files and keep them in a well-organized flash drive. Uh, Here's one right here. Drive will make your life easier. I have to figure out how to plug it back in. Okay. So then you simply select the file when you click the attachment icon on, say, your email program. It's typically a paperclip, and are able to send it to your professor. So I have some extra thoughts on this slide, but remember you can pause it at any time, so I will just keep going. So before I really get going with this presentation, I want to be clear that there's a lot of information here. You don't have to remember it all, but you do need to remember where to go for help. So in the Microsoft Suite, the question mark or light bulb icon at the top right here is incredibly useful. It will take you to internet-based help files. They are well indexed, and with just a bit of clicking and reading, you can usually figure out everything you need to know. My wife used to write these help files for another software company, so I always beam a little when people use them. And she gets very annoyed that typically people don't use the help files to figure out how to use programs. So if you're having trouble and can't figure it out with help files, try Googling your question. And if that doesn't work, give our CIS people an email or a phone call. Their hours are reduced in the middle of COVID, but they're amazing and they're willing to help whenever they're available. Okay, so I want to go over a little bit of the functionality within the Microsoft Suite by looking at each of the tabs in Microsoft Word. So let's start. If you remember Tab Soda, you can maybe tell your instructor that you deserve some extra credit as well. So the first tab on the left in Word is the File tab. I actually didn't highlight it. Bad job here, but it's right here. That's the File tab. And with that, you can create a new document, you can print your document, you can save your document. It can also give you information such as how many words you've written and allow you to share your document with other collaborators or change the format to something like a PDF. So the File tab is kind of your business tab. The next tab is the Home tab. So with the Home tab, you can change your font size, style, and color. You can also change the alignment of your text, the spacing, indentations, and position. Most of these functions can be done in other ways as well, but this tab is a ready home for your main formatting functions. When I assign a paper, I want 12-point Times New Roman font that is double spaced with 1-inch margins. The only one of those requirements that matches the Word default for a document is the 1-inch margins. So I will show you some formatting specifics with screenshots on the next page. So once you've got the page the way you want it, you can modify text in a couple of ways. Uh, you first need to select it, so you can see that this text is selected here. You can either drag your cursor over a certain portion after clicking it, or select everything in the document at once by pressing Control A. Once you've done that, you can right-click on the text, which gets you to this screen, which allows you to format text and pictures. The Microsoft defaults are screwy, so you should switch all three radio buttons once you go to the paragraph function here to be 0-point font, and then the line spacing right here, you should click to double space. For most of your classes, you'll be required to write in double space. I've sometimes had students who try to double space their papers by just going and clicking enter at the end of each line. That works as long as you don't want to format anything in your document. If you want to format anything in your document, it gets all screwy unless you use the proper way to make something double spaced. So you can also change things like alignment. Sometimes if I'm making posters, I like my text to be right justified, meaning that the straight line here is actually on this side. But left is the default. So all of these things you can do under the Home tab. It's incredibly useful. What do I do with my face? Let's put it right up here. Okay, so the next tab I want to go over is the Insert tab. And a useful function of the Insert tab is the ability to add page numbers, headers, and footers. If you want to add pictures, shapes, charts, or even screenshots, this tab can help you select and format them. I prefer to paste such things separately. To copy anything across windows, you can select it by converting it with your mouse, by covering it with your mouse, then right-clicking and selecting Copy, or alternately using the keyboard shortcut Control plus C. Then paste it wherever you want by right-clicking and selecting Paste, or using the keyboard shortcut Control V. So Control C copies, Control V pastes. I said Control plus C. There's no plus sign. My bad. So if you would like to format one page in different manners, for instance, having two columns on half the page, insert a page break, then change the layout below. And a keyboard shortcut for putting a page break in is to hit Control Enter wherever you want the page break. So again, I've got a lot of information on these slides. This is not ideal teaching. I'm just sort of giving you a whole bunch of information at once, but I hope that you pause and really consider any of the information that is specifically relevant to you. So the Design tab, I hate it, I never use it, but if you want to format a snazzy looking document, it might be right for you. It's more of your whistles and bells tab. The Theme function, for instance, allows you to follow preset formatting templates, which personally kind of drives me crazy. I like to be in charge. I don't like Microsoft telling me what to do. So you can also access paragraph spacing and formatting under this tab too, or again, just right click over this selected text that you want to format. So the Layout tab has some of the functionality of the paragraph option when you right-click over selected text, but it also lets you format the overall size of the paper. So this is where you can also change margins and orientation as well as paper size. If you want to add columns, line numbers, or standardized hyphens, not common in digital formatting, you can do it here too. So the grayed out area on the right here will become visible if you are working with an image that you want to insert into your document. So after pasting the picture, you can choose to have it in front of, behind, centered with, or in line with the text. And that just dictates where it's going to appear within your document. When I'm writing a paper and I want to have a picture in, I like to have the picture centered with the text. So that means that as I'm typing, the words just go nicely around the picture. So this option again can also be accessed simply by right-clicking on a pasted image as well. There are a lot of useful functions under the References tab. You've got access to things like inserting a table of contents or a function that autofills citations in their proper format. Once you've inserted citations, you can verify that they are done according to the style guide your teacher uses. So in my classes, I insist on Chicago style, which uses footnotes. This is where you access the footnote options. You go to References, insert footnote right here. And so to do this, you first put your cursor at the end of whatever text you want to cite, and then click Insert Footnotes or Endnotes, and it will automatically give you a superscript number right where your cursor is, linked to a footer where you can either manually enter your citation or use the Insert Citations tab. So this tab has another area for you to insert tables, captions, and even to cross-reference with other documents, which is really kind of cool. So I skipped the mailing tab. If you're looking for a way to print envelopes or mailing labels linked to a database through something like Access, then the mailing tab is for you. But I'd rather jump straight to the review tab. So the spell check, thesaurus, and word count options on this tab are available elsewhere by right-clicking and at the bottom of the page, but they're also housed here. So the translate and lookup option link to third parties. Google Translate is better than Microsoft Translate if you're looking to translate something. But in order to, one of the things you can do under the review tab too is if you're writing something in another language, you can get the grammatical and spelling editing for that in the other language as well by downloading a language pack. So and one area that I think deserves its own page is the track changes option. So spelling and grammar issues also are underlined in red and blue if you download the 360 version of Microsoft. Email-based Word doesn't have these features. So if you're looking for editing options, especially as you're writing your papers for credit right now, make sure that you download the free 360 option that you have access to as a SUNY Delhi student. You've already paid for it with your tuition. Get my face out of there. Okay, so when you select track changes, any edits you make are underlined in red. You can also right-click to insert comments. So this is my favorite way to grade, and the reason I insist people give me digital copies of their papers. Not for the sake of saving trees, trees are obnoxious, but this is also the function I use to edit people's drafts. So when you hover over and right-click on insertions and deletions in red, you can choose to accept or reject the changes. You can also delete comments by right-clicking on them. If you have reviewed the changes and are happy with them as a whole, you can select Accept All Changes and turn off tracking. There are also various levels of markup depending on whether you want to see changes made or not. Some people find a full page of red text to be quite intimidating. So that's all right here. All markup is usually what I select because I like to see everything. Okay, so the View tab um, allows you to change what toolbars are visible, change the size, view style, etc. For someone like me who finds themselves getting older every year, increasing the font size can be useful too. If it's under 120%, I typically can't see it. Okay, so every semester I have students whose computers crash or they lose their files, and when this happens, it's usually not the end of the world. Saving is an important thing to do habitually, but by going to the File tab, you can save or hit Control S. But if you neglected to save, Microsoft auto saves for you at periodic intervals. If your computer crashes or shuts down without you saving your work, you might be able to recover it from the time of the last auto saving by selecting your file from the auto recovery window, which will appear next time you start up a Microsoft program. If you accidentally deleted a file you need, you can restore your computer to a previous backed up version, which might help. Or you can download some freeware versions of the software I have listed here, Pre-Reform or Glary Utilities. So Pre-Reform has this nice free software called Recover, which you can use to scan a a disk where something was deleted, and especially with Word documents, you can usually recover the full file if it hasn't been deleted for too long. I mean, ultimately, when you delete something on a computer, you're just scrambling the data, and if it hasn't happened too long ago, you can unscramble the data. So on the next two slides, I list shortcut keys. So many of the things you can do with a mouse can be done just with a keyboard in most programs. These shortcut keys are not quite universal, but they're applicable widely beyond the Office suite. I use them because I like to look like one of the computer geeks in an 80s movie, typing a lot, and because I'm missing fingers on my right hand. So it gets painful for me to use a mouse a lot because I'm just using these two fingers with it. But keyboard shortcuts, they aren't just for amputees, they make life easier for everybody. And I've got two pages of keyboard shortcuts here. There are a lot of them. If you can't remember them, just hit Control and different letters to see what happens. So, okay, I want to move on now to Excel. Oh, my face is gone. There's my face again. Okay, so Excel is absolutely amazing, but I want to just go over some very basic functions of it right now. So during your college careers, you'll learn its more specialized functions as the need arises in each particular class that requires it. So Excel is a spreadsheet um, it's a spreadsheet program. And to insert a formula into Excel, all you do is you write the formula backwards. So you put equal into the cell where you want the formula, and for a longer formula, you can type into the input bar at the top of the page. So after equal, type your formula. So for instance, to find the answer to 1 plus 1, you write equal 1 plus 1, and then when you hit enter, 2 will appear on your spreadsheet. So to find the sum of two other cells, type the cell's coordinates. So write equal cell A1 plus B1, and then hit enter, and you will see uh, the answer to how much the sum of both those cells is. So to find the sum of two other cells, so other really basic math functions, multiply is an asterisk, divide is forward slash, subtract is the minus sign. So if you want to divide cell 1 by cell 2, you put equal whatever the cell's coordinates are, forward slash, whatever you want to divide it by. Um, okay, so that's the real basics of formulas. There is a lot more that you can do with formulas, though. So we'll keep it basic. If you want to add a whole bunch of cells, you could type out equals B1 plus B2 plus B3 plus B4, or you can use a formula shortcut, which is sum. Equal sum B1 colon B4. That's everything through. So this includes B1, B2, B3, B4. So similarly, if you wanted to find the average of B1 through B4, you could type add everything up divided by how many there are, or equal average B1 through B4. So the more numbers you have, the more it makes sense to use formula shortcuts. Formula shortcuts in Excel can't be combined into more complex formulas. So when I calculate grades, for example, I have to have, they can be combined, but they can't be combined in the same cell. So I have to have very long formulas that individually add, then weight, attendance tests, papers, and presentations. But there are hundreds of formulas you can use that you can insert into Excel. So the most common that I use in my own life are average, sum, standard deviations, and I really enjoy the basic logic functions. Nothing too complex. So again, if you want to combine multiple formulas, you have to have a string that brings together multiple cells to do so. But so here's a very simple if logic formula that I use when I'm grading, and it can be combined with and or, which is very nice for things like business planning. So down here, I've got a long, tedious grade formula, and I only have to write this once at the top of my page. So what you're looking at here is that I take the average, and I write it out of all of my focus questions and weight them at 10% of the grade. Then I take the average of all of my discussion board posts and weight them at 10% of the grade. Then this is probably a paper or a midterm exam. The midterm exam is worth 15%. You'll probably notice that here I multiply by a whole number here. I'm multiplying by a decimal. That's because of how I write the grades. So at the end, I get my grade, and it is in a percentage form. So then, or a whole number. So then I have this if logic, this if formula that is in the cell right next to it, and I will write if Q2 is greater than 3, it's an A. If Q2 is greater than 90, it's an A minus. So you might be like, well, if someone has a 94, doesn't that mean they have an A and an A minus? Well, what this logic program does is that, or what this logic function does, is it goes to the last possible true statement in your sequence. So if you have a 91 can only be an A minus because it stops here. A 91 will not also be a B plus because it stopped here in the calculation of the logic. So then I go all the way down to here and I end with D. Um, and that's because I can't put in longer functions. So I really try to keep my F's down, by the way. Okay, so moving on. All right. So well, the file, page layout, and review tabs in Excel are just like the ones in Word. The Home tab has fewer similarities. Excel is not a word processing program, so while you can change font, size, styles, and alignments within the cells, Excel is more concerned with what you want your overall table to look like and how you want the cells formulated. So if you don't select any cells, changes will apply only to the cell you're on. So select cells, then decide what you want the numbers to look like. And this is the format of the numbers, like how many decimal points do you want? Do you want to have dollar signs in or anything like that? And then you can also do funky things. Well, let's move to the next one. So, oops. So on the Insert tab, then you can add special features. You can make graphs. You can process your data into fun graphs, and these are all things that will formulate your graphs based on whatever data you've put it into your spreadsheet. So use the Formula tab then to browse and get info on all of the amazing, incredible formulas available um, through the Excel program. And then the Data tab can be used to sort your data and to link to other files. So when I'm working out our budget, I really like being able to download a CSV file from my bank, and then I can just have fun. I can sort that data any way I want using the Data tab and really make meaningful decisions about like what we're spending our money on and what kind of priorities we can have. And then on the View tab, a really nice function is the Freeze Panes option, especially for longer files. So if you've got a gigantic spreadsheet, you might want to freeze the top column or the top row so that you can make sense of all the data as you're scrolling down, 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 and down. And unfortunately, in the modern Excel program, you can only freeze one pane at a time. You used to be able to freeze two panes, which is kind of tough. So okay, oh, here we are. All right, I want to just basically go over Outlook Express as well. So that's the program that controls your campus email. So the most common thing you need to do when you're using Outlook is to attach files. So to attach a file, click the paperclip on the bottom of the email you're composing and find the file on your drive, preferably a hard drive or a flash drive. Your life will be so much easier if you buy one of these. This one that I held up to you earlier, it's 32 gigabytes and it cost me $5 at Staples up in Oneonta. So within Outlook, you have options to archive emails. You can create folders on the left bar. You can save important emails, search for past emails. That this can be a little unwieldy if you're like me and never delete your old emails. But think of relevant keywords that'll help you find that email and search through them. Okay, so I this was an awful lot. I was supposed to keep it to 15 minutes. I went 24 minutes, but I hope this was helpful and wish you luck in your computing future at SUNY Delhi. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.